Hello. At 12:56 p.m. on October 16, 2022, a 911 operator suddenly received a strange call. There was no one speaking on the other end, only continuous muffled sounds like a faint scream.
911, what are you reporting?
Because the sound was too faint, the operator could not gather any information. However, based on intuition, the operator judged that the caller seemed to be a woman, and the sounds coming from her throat suggested that her mouth might be gagged, making her unable to speak.
Okay, I'm gonna get help started to you. Hold on for me for just a second. Do you know the address that you're at, if I said it?
At that time, some noises appeared in the phone audio, like a struggle with urgent and unusual knocking sounds occurring, as in special cases. The operator then used digital analysis to locate the signal source of the other party and dispatched the information. After receiving a yes response, the dispatcher contacted the nearest police to investigate the situation. A while later, the voice on the other end grew weaker until it went completely silent. Although the call was still connected, no more sound was emitted. The story takes place in the city of Lacey. Lacey is located in the suburbs of Thurston County, Washington State in the western United States. Lacey consists of coastal plains, and with convenient access to interstate highways, the lives of its residents are quite harmonious, healthy and happy. In the city of Lacey, there was a couple. The husband's name is Chae Kyong, and 53 years old, and the wife is Young Suk, and 42 years old. They have 2 children. The eldest daughter is 20 and the youngest son is 11. Their family has lived here for 4 years, residing in an ordinary and peaceful neighborhood. But life is not always calm and peaceful, and people would be very lucky if no major incidents occurred in their lives. In the summer of 2022, due to family conflicts, the wife Young Suk filed for divorce in court. The couple had separated and were preparing the divorce proceedings. Chae Kyong had moved out, so currently only the wife and their 2 children were living in the house. Chae Kyong still visited occasionally to do laundry and take care of the children. Around 12:30 p.m. on October 16, 2022, Young Suk and her 2 children returned from church and saw the husband's car parked in the yard. This was not surprising, as every week on that day the husband would stop by to do laundry and play with the children. Compared to meeting daily as before, they felt this change was much better, and this time they could discuss the divorce. The children had just returned home and hadn't even had a chance to talk to their father when their mother told them to go to the supermarket. Next was the conversation between the husband and wife. Neither would yield on the division of assets, and they eventually began to argue. Chae Kyong said uncontrollably, "Even if I die, I will never give you alimony." These words made the wife very angry, but she didn't pay them much mind. Having lived together for so long, similar arguments had frequently occurred over the years. Young Suk demanded that her husband leave the house immediately. She felt tired and went upstairs to change clothes, but she didn't notice that her husband Chae Kyong had followed her into the bedroom. Taking advantage of her being distracted, Chae Kyong attacked her from behind, then used duct tape to gag her, blindfold her, and tie her hands and feet. After doing that to his wife, Chae Kyong temporarily left. How could a man suddenly go so mad? What did he want? Was he drunk? These questions kept swirling in the wife's mind. She fell into a state of extreme fear. The only thing she knew now was that this man was having a psychotic break. In a panic, she remembered the Apple Watch on her wrist. She hurriedly sent an emergency alert to a friend and her eldest daughter, while also calling 911 to report to the police. At this moment, she couldn't speak and could only hope for a chance of survival. And the phone call at the beginning of the video was made by her. At that time, her eyes and mouth were sealed with tape, her hands and feet were tightly bound, and she was alone in the room. Young Suk struggled and tried her best to send a message for help to the outside world. Fortunately, police cars were dispatched. But unfortunately, the husband happened to return at that moment. Surveillance video from the neighbor across the street showed Chae Kyung driving into the garage and dragging Young Suk from the bedroom downstairs. It was then that he discovered the watch on her wrist was still in communication with 911. Feeling uneasy and thinking he needed to handle it quickly, he took off the watch, picked up a hammer, and smashed it several times, even striking Young Suk's wrist a few more times. Then he gave her an unknown drug, dragged her into the trunk of the car, and drove away from the house. Surveillance video shows the police car arriving to investigate accidentally passing Chae Kyung's speeding truck. Because the police were rushing on an important mission, they did not stop the vehicle for questioning regarding the speeding in the residential area. Chae Kyung's car successfully drove out of the area and headed toward the mountains. At the same time, the police car arrived at the wife's house. They didn't know what had happened there could have been a robbery, kidnapping, or murder. They approached the front door and shouted, "Lacey Police, if you're inside, let us know." The voice of the police immediately caused the neighbors' dogs to bark everywhere. Upon entering, the police saw a smashed Apple Watch on the floor, still connected to the 911 dispatcher. There was no one in the house. The front door and garage were wide open, and there were no signs of a struggle inside. At that time, the two children returned from the supermarket. They saw a group of police suddenly at the house while their father and mother were missing. A bad premonition arose. After some exchange, the eldest daughter said, "Half an hour ago, Mom told us to go to the supermarket because she had something to discuss with Dad. But not long after, she suddenly received an emergency message from her mother. Just now, on the way home, she also saw her father's car drive by." During the subsequent investigation, police discovered the family had numerous reports of domestic violence, with the main perpetrator being the husband, Chae Kyung. Additionally, Young Suk had a protection order and a no-contact order, but they had later been rescinded by the court. Police canvassed the neighbors and obtained several surveillance videos. They then realized the speeding car from before was driven by the suspect, Chae Kyung, and they immediately launched a citywide manhunt and issued related arrest warrants. On a long forest road, a small truck had driven about 11 kilometers from the starting point. It seemed far enough that no one would set foot in this remote forest. In a desolate place, a man and a woman were alone. They had once loved each other and married once a couple and not alone, but now their love was gone, replaced only by hatred. Chae Kyung looked at the surroundings and finally saw a spot he liked. It looked like a grave. Throughout the trip, Young Suk was dazed, feeling the car stop. Before she could react, she was dragged out of the vehicle by Chae Kyung. Then she felt a sharp knife stab into her chest. The intense pain quickly made her mind a bit more alert. It was then she realized she might have been taken to an unfamiliar suburb. She vaguely saw someone with a shovel digging. As the sun set and the sky grew darker, the hole in front of her grew larger. The woman, with her hands and feet bound and her mouth and eyes covered, could only hear the sound of the shovel going up and down. Gradually, a hole was formed. Chae Kyung dragged Young Suk into the hole and began to fill it with dirt. Perhaps because he had drugged her and stabbed her in the chest, he believed that his wife no longer had the ability to resist or escape. Moreover, being buried alive like that, she would certainly suffocate and die. In reality, Young Suk was still quite conscious at this point. She knew she couldn't escape the situation because her hands and feet were tightly bound. She felt every shovelful of dirt falling on her body and face. She could only tilt her head slightly so that the dirt wouldn't enter her nostrils. Fortunately, the other party did not notice this small movement of hers. For a moment, the sound of the shovel stopped. Young Suk could clearly feel the pressure of the soil on her body. She felt Chae Kyung stomp on the ground several times, then suddenly something heavier pressed down. And that was a tree trunk that the husband had specially prepared for her. After doing all this, he returned to the car while young Suk was buried underground, surviving only on thin air. After hearing the car engine start, she began to twist her body first, trying to free her hands from the tape. Then she pulled off all the tape around her eyes, mouth, and ankles. Of course, this process lasted for a whole hour. The pain in her chest grew more severe, but she didn't care about that. She slowly moved up out of the pile of dirt. As soon as she popped her head out, she saw her husband's car not far away. A layer of mist appeared on the car window, and the light inside the car provided the only illumination in this dark area. The feeling at that moment was terrifying. A while later, knowing her injuries could not wait any longer, she used all her strength to push the tree trunk away, climbed out of the hole, and ran in the opposite direction of the car. About 20 to 30 minutes later, she saw a house. It was 12:52 a.m. Without thinking, she knocked on the door, entered, and told the homeowner everything she had been through. Her body was covered in dirty sand and soil, but the family was very kind, helped her, and called the police for her. When the police arrived, young Suk was still hiding behind the family's shed. After confirming they were the police, she ran out and pleaded for help. She said, "My husband wants to kill me. Please save me. He is still somewhere in this forest." After seeing the dirt on her, the bruises, and the remaining tape marks, the police believed her. Then they helped clean her wounds and took her to the hospital. Let's review the map of the event's journey together. This is young Suk's house. This is the area where she was buried, and this is the house where she sought help. Around 7:38 a.m. on October 17th, the following morning, a resident on the road discovered a suspicious blue Dodge vehicle that the police had issued a search warrant for parked near Stedman Road and reported it to the police. Thurston and Lacey County Police responded very quickly. 44 minutes later, the suspect, Chae Kyong, was arrested and detained. His physical and mental health status was verified and shown to be completely normal. He would face 3 different charges: attempted murder, kidnapping, and first-degree assault. On October 18, 2022, Chae Kyong was taken to the Thurston County Jail to await trial. Later that day, police found a hole about 1.65 meters long, 0.76 meters wide, and 48 centimeters deep near Stedman Road, where young Suk had been buried. Inside, there were still remnants of duct tape, bloodstains, hair, and fragments of the watch. Prosecutors then charged Chae Kyong with first-degree attempted murder, domestic violence, kidnapping, assault, and first-degree harassment. The deputy prosecutor also requested the court to deny him bail. Young Suk herself hired an additional private lawyer. She said, "Please do not grant him bail. I am very worried about my life's safety. I just want to emphasize that I am truly terrified of him. If he gets out of here, he will definitely come back and kill me." Chae Kyong's defense attorney stated the bail amount could be set at $150,000, which is sufficient to serve as a preventative measure. Furthermore, Chae Kyong is a veteran who served in U.S. intelligence for up to 30 years with no prior criminal record. It is possible that during his work he faced immense psychological pressure. This is also an objective cause leading to his crime, but this is exactly what young Suk worries about the most. She knows well that her husband worked for an intelligence agency for 30 years. If he had bad intentions, he would do unimaginable things after getting out of prison. Ultimately, the court agreed to deny him bail. At present, the case is still pending. Although young Suk narrowly escaped death and has returned to a normal life, going to the supermarket and preparing Halloween gifts for her children. But the trauma's aftermath is not just skin-deep injuries. Perhaps it is an emotional wound, and she will never forget this near-death experience. Looking back at the entire case, Chae Kyong's decisive and ruthless methods are truly terrifying. The fact that young Sook called the police to save herself when in danger makes the incident even more extraordinary. When something unfortunate happens to us, try to stay calm and utilize everything we have to solve the problem. Put faith in life, because out there are still many beautiful things waiting for us. Today's video ends here. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.